components of it and what is the concept of it, and
रिकॉर्डिंग पे लगा दिए
what is the process and what are the features, what are the instruments. So how what are the major steps in formulation and policy implementation, monitoring, evaluation, and what is the role of governance, and so how the agriculture policy process and the global experiences of participation, so how all these things are taking place. So these are the things, so today we are going to discuss about it. What are the Finally we can summarize the central government policies, regulation and programs for agriculture marketing, pricing and trade concepts, and role of investment in agriculture, pattern and composition, and determinants of agriculture investments. So this is what the today's structure of the agriculture policy. Okay.
So should I go
Hello.
next? Next.
Yeah, please, next. There is some noise which is coming from. Mm, yes. Hello.
Yeah, it is the next slide, sir.
Yes. So the next slide. Mm, yeah, the need of interlinkage between farm and non-farm sector, and also the agriculture development. I think it has. Yes. So now we have to see that the, what happened. These have changed. Yes.
We splitted the first slide into two because the
Okay. Number of components are more. That's why.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it has been done. The need of interlinkage between farm and non-farm sector, agriculture development and growth of farm input and output, role of farming sector in food security and national economy. These are the major components of the agriculture policy. Okay, so then policy, why we can frame this agriculture policy? So fundamentally, so we can alleviate the poverty, so which is existing in so different households, and so we can plan for the so countries rural development experiences in developing countries, and also the role of resources like mainly the agricultural policy. It consists of land, labor, and capital in describing paths of agriculture development. So land, labor, and capital are the crucial factors so of the agriculture. Okay, how this so the agriculture policy of the developed and developing countries, so which are taking place, so that we have seen, and we can also discuss about these things. And finally, the concept of in the recent past, we can see the how the globalization and the negotiation trend in agriculture trade, so which is also taking place over a period of time, that also is a part of the agriculture policy. And so day to day, what are the changes? So basically the price policy, marketing policy, and the exchange policy, these three types of policies, so how they are influencing the overall agriculture policy. So for each and every country, we can see that how these policies are changing, or how these policies are formulating, and what type of impact so these policies are so taking place in the overall economy as well as the so overall population. So that is what, so here the main crux of the agriculture policy is. So now we can see these are the contents of this so lecture. So now we can start with the lecture, the introduction. We can see that so agriculture has undergone a number of changes after independence. So before independence, how it has emerged, how it has evolved. Yesterday we had a discussion so about that. Then now today, so the Indian agriculture is faced with so several problems. So the food shortage is the common phenomena, as we all know very well. So the policy can be framed because of how to remove the shortages and what are the constraints, and how to go about it. So to develop the agriculture over a period of time. And a number of policy measures have been adopted to overcome the problems in agriculture. That also we can see. And it is important to understand the concept and process of policy formulation in order to formulate good agriculture policies. So these are the three things so which we are going to discuss today. Okay, what is the concept, and how the agriculture policy process of formulation, and in order to formulate good agriculture policies, what are the steps so which we have to consider. So these are the three issues so which we have to discuss elaborately in today's lecture. The concept of agriculture policy, its objectives, instruments, components, the steps and agencies involved in agriculture policy formulation. So these are so one by one. So we will discuss in a detailed manner. Yeah, next slide, please. Since the beginning of planning era in India, so yesterday we had a discussion how the when the planning era has been started in India. During 1951, the planning era has been started. During the first plan, agriculture has given a topmost priority because so before that we have a lot of problems in the agriculture because a lot of famine conditions were there, and so lots of problems because so were there. So how to overcome the type of problems and how to so improve the overall agriculture so as a whole. So that for that purpose, so we have so given the topmost importance in the first plan. And what are the number of policy changes which had taken place? So in that we have seen in the first decade of planning, India faced a severe food crisis, and accordingly policy focus was on enhancing the food grain production. So because so during the first decade of planning, how to overcome the food shortage. So to overcome the food shortage, how to enhance the production of agriculture processes, agriculture products. Okay, intensive agriculture programs in those regions where potential of enhancing agriculture productivity. So how these things can be enhanced over a period of time, that we have given much importance in the first decade of agriculture planning. The government of India adopted suitable supply side and demand side policies to bring out the green revolution by 1960s. So we have brought the green revolution. Before that, the supply side and the demand side inputs, what type of inputs to will be useful for enhancing the agriculture production, and so what type of demand which is taking place so for these agriculture products. So those are the things so which are major components of that so initial days of the agriculture policy. The supply side policies comprised land reforms, as you all know very well. So in India, so whenever we have got the independence, and before independence also it was there, the debate. But so after the independence, we have started implementing the so land reforms. So only for the namesake, so we have implemented in all the states of India, but successfully the land reforms have been successful in West Bengal and Kerala. These two states, so more or less, so perfectly the land reforms have been implemented. In other states, so there are a lot of problems, a lot of constraints. So have raised. Though the land reforms norms are there till today, but so the implementation process so is so not that much successful as we can say. Okay, so that is what so broadly about the land reforms and development and diffusion of new farm technologies, as you all know very well. So from the beginning onwards, so how the technologies so in agriculture sector still till today, the technological changes which are emerging in so one place or the other. Okay, how these farm technologies which are emerging. And so third important component to the agriculture policy is the price support. Okay, because whenever the agriculture prices are not in a position to support the farmers, so then the farmers may not yield good results, they may not get good benefits out of the so agriculture crops, as you all know very well. So the price support, so how the government is so taking such type of rapid measures, that we are going to discuss in the coming slides. Then institutional credit, this is one of the major obstacle and major important component for any type of agriculture situation. Okay, whether he may be a marginal farmer or small farmer or a middle farmer or the large farmer, they want so some type of support, credit support. So to what extent the institutional means especially banks. Okay, non-banks, so they are so money lenders, and still there are the in some of the places still they are playing some type of crucial role. But nowadays, whenever the awareness is creating and educated people are growing, so the institutional credit so by the government so is so one of the major factor. And public investment in irrigation and other infrastructures. So yesterday we had a discussion with so in the public investment is declining over a period of so time in the agriculture sector. That's what we have discussed. But apart from that, even then, so the public investment in irrigation and other infrastructures is inevitable. Okay, that has to be there. But to what extent it is taking place, and so how this is going to be, this is benefiting to the overall agriculture sector, so that is also which we are in a position to discuss more. Whereas demand side policies consisted of state intervention in agriculture markets, because agriculture is a state subject in India. So agriculture has is a state subject. That is why state has a lot of powers. And so to decide what exactly the agriculture policy could be, and how the marketing policies, price policy, though central government will decide. Apart from that, the state is also having such type of major role so in this agriculture markets point of view. And public procurement of food grains, this is one of the major factor which the central government used to do. Because public procurement, for the sake of public, so the procurement of food grains will be so done by the central government through Food Corporation of India. So then the lot of storage facilities in each and every state, so they have established, and they used to keep these so storage of food grains in each and every state. So like that, the procurement of food grains is taking place. Then so that procurement of food grains, whenever they will do it, then the public distribution system is also one of the basic factor which has become very much successful so over a period of time, if we can see that. So public distribution system, so the all types of agriculture products, mainly cereals. So cereals can be distributed through each and every, almost I can say every village. Okay, this public distribution system is that much rampant. So it has been implementing for the last several years. So that is also one of the major component of the demand side of the so policy measure. Okay, in this way, supply side policy measures and the demand side policy measures, so which are very much so important in so implementing the agriculture policy over a period of time in India. These policy interventions, so along with sincere and persistent efforts of agriculture scientists and extension workers, enthusiasm and dynamism of the farmers in the adoption of modern farm practices, have been instrumental in the agriculture development and achieving self-sufficiency in food grains. That day we have seen that so we have achieved almost self-sufficiency in production of food grains. So these are all the so basic so components, and a lot of dynamism, enthusiasm, so has taken place, so to achieve good results in the agriculture development. Okay, next slide, please. However, Indian agriculture of today is radically different from the green and post-green revolution periods. Though, as you know that, so green revolution is the major change, so which has brought a large number of changes. So I hope so you can understand that the green revolution is the basic, so important component of Indian agriculture system. So after that post green revolution period also, we have a lot of changes. So a slowdown in the productivity growth and a rise in input costs. Farmers face the volatility of the market cost caused by increasing global integration, because after, especially after 90s, if we can see that, so these type of problems so are also facing by the Indian agriculture sector. Changing consumer tastes and preferences, as you all know very well, so this is the major, so driving force, so behind the, so any product's demand. Okay, what are the consumers tastes and preferences, how the consumers are changing their tastes and preferences over a period of time to purchase the agriculture products and to utilize the type of agriculture products which are available in the market. So these are the, so crucial factors which can determine the agriculture overall production and the developmental process. So based on that only, ultimately it reflects on the agriculture, it will suggest to change the agriculture policy. Okay, so what way the tastes and preferences of the human resources, human beings, so they can change their attitudes and preferences and the tastes. So accordingly, the agriculture policy also will be changed from time to time, time and again. Okay, in this changing scenario, policy goals, instruments, and sectoral perspective would have also undergone a change. Okay, this is what I have to say. What agriculture policy is and how it links to the planning, that also we can see, because whenever these changes are taking place, as you know that planning is also the beginning of so each and every aspect. Plan means basically the systematic thinking of future events is called plan. Okay, so how the plan will be implemented in the process of agriculture production, and so how the agriculture production will be enhanced, so and how the agriculture development will takes place. So in that way, these are all the components of so the policy, agriculture policies. Okay, need for their integration with a view to maximize the farm income per unit of land, labor, and other resources. As you know that, so ultimately, so where we can stop or where we can see fundamentally, so how much income the farmer is in a position to earn while cultivating his piece of land. Okay, it is very difficult to measure the agriculture income. That is why there are no much statistics which are available on the basis of agriculture income. Okay, so recently, so in India also, we have, so there are national sample survey organization statistics to some extent which are available. Based on that, so our country has started so measuring the farmers income and how to double the farmers income, like that in 2016. So there was a, so debate which has started, and so still it is going on by 2022-23. So we thought that how the farmers income can be doubled, like that we have started measuring, and so still the process is going on and on. And so land and labor and other resources, so how these things are also will change, so for the farm income. So that is the most important thing. ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है। कल सुबह थोड़ा जल्दी आना। Okay. Okay, okay. How to enhance the agriculture productivity and sustain the livelihood of resource poor farmers and generate productive jobs for the farm workers. So these are the outcomes. So which we can see that so the agriculture policy will try to so contribute towards these three types of aspects. One is the agriculture productivity, how it can be enhanced, and how to sustain the livelihood of resource poor farmers, because as you know that the rest of the farmers they can sustain and they can they can livelihood their resources so on the basis of resources. But how to generate the productive jobs is also one of the most important component, as we can go back and see the theoretical base so of these agriculture policies and all. So the Lewis dual sector model and Ragnar Naxe, and so there are the Rosenstein Rodon and MP Todaro. These are all the authors. So they have seen that how the agriculture surplus so can be so enhanced the other non-farm activities or the industrial activities, so are ultimately the service sector will grow. This is what the one type of so theoretical background which they have suggested. But unfortunately in India, so that the process of agriculture to industry, industry to services has not been done. Okay, that is what one of the major drawback, because the people those who are expected so from the agriculture sector, those who are disguised unemployed in the agriculture sector, they have to so transform and they have to go and contribute in the industrial sector, because agriculture is having subsistence wages. And so if these labor will go to the industrial sector, and industrial they will participate in the industrial production will grow up, and so it can yield good results. So because of so industrial production, the final products may be prepared with that, so they can be absorbed the agriculture surplus labor. And then so the agriculture development and the industrial development will takes place. Finally through that the tertiary sector, the services sector will also grow. Like that the theoreticians so they have explained. So for the past so several years onwards, the classical to neoclassical or the modern economies, their theories have suggested that so this is the trend, agriculture to industry, industry to services. But unfortunately, so in the developed countries, so it has been successful, because agriculture to industry, industry to tertiary. But not in the developing countries, so especially in my country and in other developing countries also, so it has not been taken place in such a manner. Because so there are several problems, several issues which has risen, because the consumption pattern has grown up. So before what so they thought about it. And so the Dusenberry's so theories has also demonstration effect has also been influenced the in majority of our the developing countries. So because of that reason also, our consumption pattern has grown up, whatever the income which we are earning. So that is what the major change which has taken place. Because of that reason, agriculture to industry, industry to services sector has not been properly so grown. Okay, so here the trend is so agriculture, after that so services growth rate has gone up, after that only the industrial growth is taking place. So in that way we can see the dimension of our economy, okay, in our developing countries. Okay, next slide please. Yes. So now we can see what is the concept of agriculture policy. Okay. So after this, so I think after completing, then I will share the Nigerian experience and the Ghana experience. So how the agriculture policy been so implemented in their countries, that also we can discuss about it today. So now here in India, how the concept of agriculture policy has started. So this is agriculture is made from two Latin words, as you know, yeah, that day only I want to explain these things. Ager meaning a field, and cultura means so cultivation. That means a field cultivation. Agriculture means fundamentally we can discuss about the field cultivation, how the field cultivation is there, and how that field cultivation policy can be framed. The agriculture is a tillage or cultivation of soil of a field, because ultimately how they are cultivating or how they are plowing, how they are so tilling the soil, so that is called the agriculture. Okay. In practice, agriculture comprises all activities related to production of food, feed, fiber, fuel, and other products through the systematic raising of plants and animals. Okay, so these are the things. So the agriculture can try to contribute so towards the production of food, feed, fiber, fuel, and other products, raising of plants and animals. So these components can be useful for so to growth of these so products. Then, so he has William Jenkins in 1978. He defined that the term policy as a set of interrelated decisions taken by a political actor or group of actors concerning the selection of goals and the means of achieving them within a specified situation, where those decisions should, in principle, be within the power of those actors to achieve. Okay, political actors. So, and the bureaucrats. So these two groups so are in a position to so frame the any type of policy like that. So agriculture policy also, so it has been so formulated so and initiated by these two groups of so politicians as well as the bureaucrats. A policy is a plan of action initiated by a political party in government which undergoes reforms and changes by interested actors. These interested actors may be members of the opposition parties, non governmental organizations, academic institutions, social service organizations, and also the press media. Okay, in India, different ministries of the central government frame their own policies and amend them periodically to make them compatible with the changing economic scenario. Because so from time to time, whenever the need is so arising, so based on that, so the ministry at the central level, so they can formulate this type of policies while combining all these groups of people. Okay, as you know, the opposition parties, non-governmental organizations, academic institutions, social service organizations. So and apart from that, these are all being mobilized so by the bureaucrats also. Okay, so bureaucrats as well as the politicians, so these two are the major so players so who can participate and formulate the agriculture policy and try to implement so in each and every state and each and every place, so by these two segments so of the our so bureaucracy and the political parties. Next slide. Yeah. Then what exactly the agriculture policy consists of? It may comprise a number of policies, because agriculture policy may, so because there are each and every component which is very very important. For each and every component it has its own policy. Then only so that output can be achieved good success. So out of that, the land tenure and land reform policy, already we have discussed about this. Then price policy, agriculture prices, how it could be. Okay. Then agriculture trade policy. So because interstate trade, international trade, so both the things so are there. So prices, so how they can be fixed, and how the trade of agriculture commodities will use to take place. Because so these are all the things which the government used to look after it. So if the storage capacity of the agriculture products are declining, then so the government will try to fulfill the targets and how to achieve the that storage facilities and how to enhance the storage facilities. If the country is not having such type of output, then it has to import from other countries wherever they are available, so in the world, so they can import. Then marketing policy, that is also one of the crucial factor for each and every farmer, so those who are producing this agriculture commodities. Okay, because marketing policy, so as you all know very well, earlier, so majority of the places the intermediaries used to take place, because directly the farmer is not in a position to sell their product in the market. Though the agriculture markets, so the regulated markets are being established by the government, so from time to time and place to place in different ways, but even then the mediators, they used to exploit the farmers in majority of the cases. So the clutches of the mediators, the farmers used to suffer. Okay, so this is one of the major problem in the agriculture, because agriculture, majority of the agriculture farmers, they are not well educated. That is why they does not aware, and they have some type of problems. So they have already taken some type of so loans, so they have taken some type of so immediate loans from so the other people, the money lenders and the neighbors, friends, relatives. So like that they used to take, or so the wholesaler or the retailer, those who are in a position to sell the agriculture inputs, fertilizer, pesticides and the other inputs which they are supplying. So from them, the marginal farmers and small farmers, they used to take the loans from them, and instead of to remove, to reduce their loan burden, they immediately sell that their product to them. So in that way, so they are so in a position to so sell their product immediately to them. So in that way also they are losing the majority of the income. So nowadays, so the government has brought a lot of changes. So electrification of the so markets, so they have brought it. And so because of weights and measures is also one of the basic problem. So in that also, the majority of the farmers, they are losing so their output. That is why so the government is coming up so to reduce such type of problems. And credit policy, so as we have already discussed, so that the earlier, so the people used to depend on the money lenders, and so the intermediaries are the merchants. So nowadays, so the government is trying to intervene, so to arrange the credit facilities to majority of the farmers through banks. Okay, so through different type of banks, commercial banks, so and the cooperative banks, so they are all there, so to so supplement this type of credit needs of the farmers from day to day. That is why that credit policy is also very much important component of the agriculture policy. Then the crop insurance policy, as you all know that, so agriculture is depending upon the monsoons or the climatic conditions. So whenever the climatic conditions and the environmental conditions which are not favorable to that, so then before that, if they can do the type of their crops in for insurance, then the farmers may not be affected. So for that purpose, whenever the farmers are sowing their so land, so whatever the crop may be, so that type of crops are being insured. And if any type of damage, very with minimum amount, so they have to pay as a as an installment. So out of that, so if they might face any type of cyclones or any type of so damages through our climatic conditions, or the without having any rains, so any of these type of problems, so it can be so to some extent they can be adjusted so through insurance policies. Yes. So in this way, yes. So the crop insurance policy is also very much important in that way. Then the water policy, as you know very well, so that the agriculture water is one of the important component. Without water, so there is no agriculture. That is why, yes. So that is why, so water irrigation policy is also one of the important so component in the agriculture sector, because so without having irrigation facilities, agriculture food grains so are not in a position to grow much. Then the food policy. Okay, so food grains. So what type of policy? The food grains policy, which is going to be so useful, and so for all the people, majority of the people, so they will so depend upon the food grains policy. Okay, for within that, so and another one is fertilizer policy. So the fertilizer policy is also one of the important component in the recent past, because so earlier we used it to our people used to grow so with our manure, and so with so buffaloes and cows they used to grow, and so their so natural manure they used to develop, and with that they used to grow more number of crops. But over a period of time the livestock has been so almost so wiped off in majority of the places, because nobody is there to look after, or nobody is there to grow that type of livestock. Earlier so every house is having such some type of or the other livestock population. But nowadays, so that livestock population is also declined at a rapid rate. So due to that reason, the fertilizer, the people used to the agriculture farmers, they used to depend on the fertilizer only, fertilizers and the pesticides. So if they cannot use the type of so inputs on the agriculture, so there is no output. And farm power policy. So irrigation is not there in each and every place, so that is why so electricity is playing such a major role. Okay, so in each and every state, so what exactly the farm power policy? So for the politicians, so they are using these two policies in a very free manner. Food policy, food grains distribution. Okay, wherever the population is not in a position to earn their livelihood, so the government is supplying their food grains, minimum food grains, so to each and every family through one type of policy or the other. That is called the food policy, which we have seen. And this farm power policy, so whenever the so political parties, so they are coming to the power, so they are giving free electricity to the farmers, and so the farmers are so getting benefit out of it. So in that way, these are all the policies which are the major so components of each and every so policy is an important for the agriculture policy. Okay, these policies are framed by the government to achieve the specific goals related to the farm sector. I hope, am I clear to all of you? Is it okay, friends?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, yeah. As agriculture in India is a state subject, as we have discussed, apart from the national agriculture policy, state governments also prepare their own agriculture policies and also regulate the supply of various agriculture products through some rules, acts, and regulations. This is what, so basically, though the agriculture is a state subject, but nation has its own concern, so to so enhance or to remedy, to give some type of remedies or to extend the facilities so in the agriculture policies. So that is why how it can be regulated and how the supply of the various agriculture products, so through some rules, acts, and regulations, it can be maintained so every now and then. Okay, in this way, so the national agriculture policy as well as the state agriculture policies go hand in hand. Okay, so in that way, so these are the agriculture policies. So brief about it. Next slide, please. Then, so these are the broad policies which we have seen. What are the objectives of the agriculture policy? Okay, so the main objectives, so which are trying to cover under this agriculture policy to achieve the agriculture policy is that price protection for farmers and managing price volatility arising due to greater global integration of Indian agriculture. Okay, this is one of the major important things. So in the recent past, so whenever the economy has opened up, so since then the price protection for farmers and managing the price volatility so is one of the major important thing. So due to greater global integration of Indian agriculture, conservation, management and rational use of land, water and other natural resources to ensure sustainability of agriculture. Okay, because so sustainability of agriculture is at a stake. Okay, that is not in our hands, especially so to look after to sustain the agriculture. So the climatic conditions and the environmental conditions, and so these two will play a major role apart from other factors which we have seen so earlier in the land, labor, capital, and irrigation, all the facilities. So they are there. Apart from that, these two things components are also very much important. So for this, so agriculture. Then developing cost effective and energy efficient farm technologies, whatever the farm technologies which are using, because the nowadays, day by day, the agriculture labor, those who are interested to work in the agriculture sector, they are going down, they are declining at a rapid rate. So to whenever they are declining, so the farmer is in a position to depend on the technologies. So what type of agriculture technologies so they are available, and how so these energy efficient farm technologies so which are going to be useful. So those are the very important things so which are being seen. Then cost effectiveness, so they may not be so more cost. Strengthen rural infrastructure to support faster agriculture development. That is also one of the major objective, because then food and nutritional security to meet country's requirement, and ensuring economic viability of small and marginal farmers in particular, and dryland farming in general. Okay, ensuring economic viability of small and marginal farmers, as I have already explained other day. So more than 70 to 80% so of the land holdings belongs to marginal and small farmers. So that means so almost so it is below 2 hectares. So that is what we can see. So that may not be viable in some circumstances, because so the technology, even the agriculture technology whichever is available, they may not be in a position to implement in those small fragmented land holdings. So in that way, that is also we have to see that to what extent so the available technologies are in a position to sustain, or it is a feasible, or it is viable to continue their agriculture production process. So, and adequate and timely supply of quality farm inputs, that is also one of the major factor, because so seeds is the most important input. Okay, quality seeds is very important. Okay, the farmers so so they can grow such type of so agriculture products, but sometimes so are in majority of the times, if the seed is not quality oriented, then the product or their output may not be good. That we all know very well. Okay, in that way, the quality of farm inputs is also very important, not only in seeds, in all other inputs which are so trying to be applied for the process of agriculture. What type of quality that farm inputs are having, that can be assured, and that can be seen in a very closed manner. Then diversification of farming towards high value horticulture and livestock products. So in majority of the cases, diversification is one of the remedial measure to enhance the agriculture production process. Okay, a crop rotation system or the diversified agriculture farming, so the diversified to other horticulture products or the so livestock products, so whichever so they are interested, so they want to do such type of things also from time to time. Okay, and generating non-farm rural employment to ease the workforce pressure on agriculture, that is also one of the more major important thing. Yes, especially yes, the theories which already said, already explained about that the disguised unemployment is very high in the agriculture sector. That means disguised unemployment means the marginal output, okay, marginal productivity, so is going to be zero. Marginal productivity means if you want to so put additional manpower to the same type of unit of production in agriculture, their level of output will be zero or equivalent to zero. That is called marginal productivity. Okay, so if you go on enhancing the marginal productivity, so then the agriculture output will be so in a position to so decline at a rapid rate. So that is why so the theory says that so agriculture to non-agriculture, if the labor can be moved, so or the non-agriculture products can start produced in that area, these farmers or the agriculture labor can be so migrated or so shifted from agriculture to non-agriculture activities, then non-agriculture activity will also grow, and the pressure on the agriculture will also decline. Due to that reason, agriculture surplus will also grow. That surplus can be reinvested in the non-agriculture activities or in the industrial sector. It used to take place, but unfortunately, so a country like India, in that process is not that much rampant. So though so theoretically we can say we can share these type of things, but overall it has not achieved great success. Okay, so slowly that process is keep on continuing. In that way, the role non-farm employment to ease the workforce pressure on agriculture, removing regional imbalances in agriculture development. This is also one of the so thing which we can see regional imbalances, because in one place so the agriculture production is very high, in another place so the agriculture production is low. So to one region to another region, so these agriculture products has to be transported. Otherwise, so the people those who are living in another region who do not have that much of agriculture production, they may be in a position to so have some type of problems of food shortages. Okay, to remove that type of shortages, so regional to maintain the regional imbalances, the product can be transported from wherever the agriculture development is high, wherever the agriculture development is low. So between these two things, so the transportation will takes place and it can be successful. Then ensuring greater public private participation in the agriculture development. As we have seen already, the public infrastructure, the public investment is coming down in the agriculture sector, so it can be substituted by the private investment only. Okay, so the private people, they have to start the investment process in the agriculture, then only the public private investment will be in a position to balance or in position to substantiate the overall agriculture production process. Then ensuring free flows of agriculture products across states and regions. So that is also one of the objective which the government has to so think about it. So free flow from one region to another region, wherever the I have already told you the agriculture product is so very high in one region. So for example, in so in India we have so in northern region Punjab and Haryana, they used to produce more. Excuse me. So in the southern belt, so Andhra Pradesh and so Tamil Nadu, Karnataka also, so we have so some type of agriculture, and excuse me, especially in central part, so and the northeastern part, so we have less agriculture production. That is why, so in that way, among these regions, so the government use it to, so send their products from one state to another state, one region to another region. That is what the free flows of agriculture products across the states and regions used to take place. That is also one type of policy they can be framed to distribute or to evenly free to circulate the agriculture product from one region to another, one state to another state, so across the region and across the states. So these are the fundamental objectives of the agriculture policy. So next slide, please. Then, so what are the instruments of the agricultural policy? So to achieve those objectives, so whatever the objectives which we have discussed in the agriculture policy, so to achieve that objectives, these instruments are very much important. Okay, what are those instruments which can be useful so to achieve the objectives? So that is what we can see here. The price support for major crops, public procurement of food grains, input subsidies on fertilizer, power and irrigation, and public investments in agriculture infrastructure may be the major policy instruments. Okay, previous slide we have discussed about the objectives. To achieve those objectives, the first one is price support for major crops. Okay, because so here rice and wheat are growing like anything. Okay, so for those products, price support so is very very important from the government side. Okay, government has to decide what type of price the this product can be purchased from the yes, excuse me, from the farmers. So that is why they can formulate so one policy. The minimum support price so has to be extended to each and every farmer, so that policy can be implemented each and everywhere. At least the farmer should not suffer. So whatever the production cost which they have so already arrived in the so in producing their agriculture product, so at least so through this minimum support price they can so equip or they can earn that much amount of money, so without having any losses. Okay, if the surplus may not be there, then there is no problem. At least so if whatever they have spent so to produce that much amount of money on the agriculture production, so that can be achieved through this minimum support price policy. That is why the minimum support price policy has been so implementing for the last several years. And so due to that reason, the price support for major crops is so keep on going on. Horticulture products, some of the horticulture products may not have this MSP policy because that the output of that product is not much high. That is why the government is not bothered about to introduce the minimum support price for that type of so products. Okay, only they have extended to the major crops. Then public procurement of food grains, so this is also another thing which we have to see, because so to reduce the inequalities, to because majority because of fragmentation of land holdings in India, so day by day the landless people are growing over a period of time. Landless people means they do not have any land, they are the agriculture labor, they are ready, they are working in the agriculture, but they don't have any land. So they have to go and work throughout their time in another person's so land. So because of fragmentation of land holding, day by day, the land holding size is also declining. So that is why landless labor or landless population has been growing over a period of time. So for that purpose, so to feed that type of group of people, government has so introduced this public procurement of food grains. And so sometimes when the calamities have taken place, whether cyclones or some type of unforeseen environmental or climatic conditions, so the farmer, the man, they may not able to purchase because the crops have been damaged. So during that period also, this public procurement is going to be useful to the majority of the farmers. And that through that public procurement, so whatever they have procured, the type of agriculture products, they may keep in their storages and warehouses. And whenever the people wants, whenever the scarcity is so dominating, then the government used to distribute to each and every household. So from that storage or the procurement of those food grains can be distributed among the population again. Okay, in this is what the cyclical process which used to take place wherever this type of problems are arising. So there the government used to substantiate or used to reduce such type of crisis. So this public procurement of food grains can be distributed in those places and try to balance so the livelihood of each and every household, those who are living in that country. Okay, so that is also one of the most important thing which the government is doing it. Then input subsidies on fertilizer as so, because the cost of cultivation of fertilizer is very high. The huge that much of input cost may not be in a position to borne by the farmer. That is why the government is declaring before supplying that type of inputs to the farmers in a subsidy form. So that subsidy is being extending to the those who are producing that input. And the people, those who are going to use that type of input, they are getting benefit out of these subsidies. Am I clear to you? Okay, friends. So that is what the input subsidies on fertilizer is taking place. Then power and irrigation. These two components are also one of the major instruments of the policy. In the previous slide, I have explained how the power and irrigation are very crucial. So in the case of each and every agriculture output. Then public investments in agriculture infrastructure may be the major policy instruments. Okay, so public investments in agriculture infrastructure, because public while constructing dams, constructing canals, so like that. So in majority of the constructing some type of roadways, so for the sake of transportation or to reach the marketplace. So these are all been arranged by the public infrastructure, has been arranged by the government. So then only the farmers, a single farmer or the group of farmers, as you know that farmers are unorganized. Farmers group is not an organized group, as you all know very well. Okay, so that is why apart from the farmers point of view, the public government has to arrange such type of infrastructure to reach the markets or to grow their crops, on both the ways. So the government has to intervene and put their investment to enhance the public infrastructure, especially in the case of this agriculture sector. These instruments can be complemented with the trade policy instruments such as quantitative restrictions on imports and exports. Yes. So whatever the policy instruments which are there, so those things can also be complemented with the trade policy, because trade means import and export, as you know very well. So whenever our products are high, then they are ready to export. When the agriculture products are low, they might have affected, then the government has to import. And it has to be circulated in the government, in the public place. In that way, the imports and exports restrictions has to be enhanced. then import tariffs and state trading. So these things so can be so perfectly been monitored, and it has been the policies can be so framed according to the circumstances. So in that way also these trade policies can play an important role in the agriculture policy. Then exchange rate manipulation can also be used as an instrument to improve the competitiveness kind of countries' agriculture exports. Okay, exchange rate, because so the rupee value is going down, the dollar value is going up. So, and so what are the advantages and the disadvantages so of the exchange? So in that way, in other developing or developing countries point of view, where we can export or from where we can import, so if those things can be so perfectly been calculated by the government, and try to see that so how this exchange rate manipulation is so in a position to be successful, so in achieving good results, that also can be perfectly a part of the agriculture policy. Okay, that is also one of the major instrument which we can see so from the agriculture point of view. So these are the objectives and these type of instruments the agriculture policy has been so perfectly planned and implemented in such a way. Next slide, please. Yes. So within this, so there are the other components. So whatever the so instruments which I have explained. So the input subsidy, as I have already told you, that so how the subsidy is going to be useful, because due to the subsidy the farmers will get so the in a so less price, with less price the inputs of fertilizer or the pesticides or any other subsidies which the government is so extending on the agriculture inputs, the farmers are in a position to get benefit out of it. In that way, whatever the inputs which are so being implemented, which are there, which are available in the agriculture production process, so in that the input subsidy is also one of the crucial thing. Then second, please, next slide. Okay. Mhm. Yes, then the price support also I have told you already. So how the price support will be beneficial to the so each and every farmer through this. So the minimum support price so is one of the basic so policy which the government so is been implementing. The prices can be fixed by so agriculture costs and prices. The commission for agriculture costs and prices is there, which can calculate and which can measure the prices, and it can suggest the minimum support price policy to the government accordingly. So these things can be implemented. Okay, next slide, please. It has gone back. Next, food subsidy. Food subsidy, then input subsidy we have seen, price support we have seen, then the food subsidy also we can see that food grains, government subsidy on food grains to the consumers can also be used as a policy instrument. Although food subsidy is targeted for poor people to ensure their food security, it can also be used to increase the farm income. Okay, so whenever this food subsidy is there, so then if it can be implemented, then the farmer's income will also grow. If issue prices of food grains crops are lower due to heavy food subsidies, it would generate more demand for the food grains, indirectly benefiting the growers. This is what the way the prices of food grains crops, the food subsidy is going to be beneficial. Actually, food subsidy in India has three components: consumer subsidy, implicit producer subsidy, and subsidy pertaining to the maintenance of buffer stock. So these three components are very, very crucial when the government plan for the food subsidy. Okay, the amount of consumer subsidy depends on the quantity of food grains distributed through the public distribution system, as I have told you already. So how much quantity of food grains they are distributing through public distribution system, while carrying cost on maintaining the stocks at buffer norm level, is the price for food security. Okay, so food security is one of the most important instrument in the agriculture policy. Okay, the carrying cost in excess of stocks over and above norms may be considered as a kind of implicit producer subsidy. Ultimately, how this is going to be useful for the implicit producers subsidy. So this is what the way which we have to see how the cost is being carried out, and how they are going to get benefit out of it. So in that way, the food subsidy is also one of the most important thing which can be useful for the agriculture producers. Next slide, please. Hello. Yes. So then,
Yes.
yes, the direct payment. So in nowadays, the government has started directly payments. Okay, earlier, these direct payments are given to the farmers to achieve the multifunctionality objective of agriculture. They are designed to maintain the agricultural output within the predefined output quota. Okay, common agriculture policy of European Union and USA also transfers direct money to the farmers for not to grow crops. Okay, in some circumstances, if the landless labor is very high, or in sometimes, the farmers are not in a position to so grow some type of crops. So to avoid the type of circumstances, the government directly pay some amount to the agriculture producers. Okay, these payments are directly transferred from taxpayers to farmers without raising prices to the consumers. So that is what the most important thing which is happening. So the government declares the this type of direct payment system to the farmers. The objectives of direct payments to the farmers may be to achieve price stability, protect the farm income, and conserve the soil. Okay, these three. So to maintain that the balance among these factors, the government will introduce the direct payments to the farmers. Price stability, because prices agricultural products prices has to be stable, and how to protect the farm income, and how to conserve the soil, because number of times they are using the same soil, then the soil fertility may be lost. So that is why, to conserve the soil and to protect the farm income, and also to maintain the price stability, the government used to apply or pay the directly payment to the farmers. This instrument is not generally used so far. So in very rare circumstances only this can be used. Yes, next slide. Then warehouse receipts. Okay, warehouses. So in nowadays, to store the products, agriculture products. So warehouses are being established in each and every place. Ah, ఏమైందంట ఆడికి? అదెట్ట కుదురుద్దా? ఏందది? ఏందది? బుజ్జా ముందు కాదే, ముందు పెట్టుకున్న తర్వాత అందరు పెట్టుకోండి, ఒకళ్ళ తర్వాత ఒకళ్ళు. ఇప్పుడు ఇంతలో ఏమైందే? బాలకోటిని అడిగేది అందే? ఆ, ఆ. ఓరి ఏమో బుజ్జయ్య 1 గంట 2 గంటలు అయిపోతాయిరా ఒరే, నేను క్లాసులో ఉన్నాను రా. అయ్యా నేను క్లాసులో ఉన్నాను, మీరు కొంచెం మాట సర్దుకొని చేసుకోండి. 1 గంటే కదరా అయ్యా లేటు. 1 గంట 2 గంటలు అయిపోద్ది కదా. 1 గంట 2 గంటలు అయిపోద్దిలే కానీ మళ్ళీ నువ్వు పెట్టుకో, ఆడు పెడతాడు, మనకే పెడతాడు. పెట్టమని చెప్పాను లేవా నేను పొద్దునుంచా. ఇస్తాడు లేవా, ఇటు పెట్టుకున్న తర్వాత ఇస్తాడు లేవా, పెట్టుకుందు లేవా. కానీ కానీ వదులుతారులే, పెట్టుకున్న తర్వాత ఏం చేస్తారు ఇంకా. రాకాడి బాతీలే వస్తుందంట కదా కాలువ, మొన్న వచ్చిందంట, మళ్ళీ ఇవాళ వస్తుంది లేవా, వస్తుంది లేవా. అంటే 1 గంట 2 గంటల్లో పెట్టేసుకోండి అయ్యా, నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాను రా. పెట్టుకోండి అట్ట సర్ది పెట్టుకోండి రా. Sorry for the inconvenience. Sorry. Yeah. So in this way, the warehouse receipts, the system of warehouse receipts is used as a specific instrument of support to market organization in various countries, including India. The commercial banks refinanced crops through warehouse receipts because so commercial banks, so whenever you are storing your products in the warehouses, based on that the commercial banks use it to refinance the crops. The intervention agency used a system of bills of exchange whereby the farmers, public warehouse, buyer and bank acted as participants in the transaction. Okay, in this way the warehouse receipts also one of the policy instrument, so which can be in a position to help to the farmers. The next slide. Then infrastructure services. Okay, the state investments in irrigation, land improvement, soil and water conservation, roads, electricity, water and pasture land improvement are the major elements of infrastructure services. Okay, in the previous slides we have discussed about the how the agriculture infrastructure has to be so taken place and how the government used to support to the infrastructure. So the as a part of it, the state investments in irrigation and the land improvement, soil and water conservation, roads, electricity, water and pasture land improvement are the major elements of infrastructure services. Then, in addition to that, general services provided to producers, either free or at subsidized costs, include research, training, and extension services, inspection services, pest and disease control services. These are also the important things, so which has to be monitored thoroughly and it has to be executed properly in the agriculture policy point of view. Next slide. Exchange rate management, this also we have discussed earlier. So then exchange rate manipulation can be applied as an instrument to achieve the policy goals. In developing countries, appreciation of domestic currency, devaluation of currency, and so demonetization, these are all the problems which are time and again they used to take place. Due to that time also the exchange rate has to be managed. So and the import costlier and thus reduce the flow of imported goods in the domestic market. These are all the problems which used to take place. So in the especially in this so exchange rate point of view. Okay, next slide. Agricultural trade regulation. These trade regulations are also most important. Export and import point of view. Whenever the problems are taking place in the agriculture product of that country, so they have to import so from some other country. If they have produced much and they are in a position to export these so their products to some other countries. The trade regulations comprise quotas, import duties, and export subsidies applied to imports or exports to increase or decrease amounts traded internationally and thus increase or reduce domestic prices. Till recently, Government of India had quantitative restriction on agriculture imports. This was done to protect the farmers from the onslaught on cheap agricultural imports. Then, exports point of view, exports were also regulated to ensure adequate supply in the domestic markets. In this way, the import and export so point of view, the regulations can be so restricted and so enhanced on this so both the point of view. In the post WTO period, the quantitative regulations on agriculture products have been lifted. Okay, that we keep on restricting, we are keep on observing so how these type of trends which are taking place so from time and again. Next slide. Other instruments, so far we have discussed all the other things, and apart from that there are some other instruments which can also influence the agriculture policy. Is that so Land Reform Act, we have seen Essential Commodities Act, and institutional credit, farm sector, and also these are all we have discussed, and modern farm practices which are mainly based on the external inputs would be possible only when farmers have adequate credit facilities. Okay, the other three instruments we have discussed earlier. Apart from that, modern farm practices, so those who are so emerging in the market, so those type of things can be applied. The drone technology, recently we have seen that so in majority of the farmers, so the technology, drone technology, and climate control technology, those are all bringing so to the so different type of so agriculture crops. So in such circumstances, so they must need so huge credit facilities from the institutions or the commercial banks. Then only so these type of instruments will play an important role in the agriculture policy, or whatever the way the policy, agriculture policy is so playing such a crucial role that can be useful for them. Okay, so this is what up to the instruments point of view. Next slide. Yes, so from here onwards, the second aspect which we can see, what are the agricultural sector goals, because the policy needs these type of goals. So policy can be framed to achieve these type of goals. Okay, what are the agriculture sector goals? Self sufficiency in food, livelihood security, to achieve the livelihood security, and to achieve the income generation, and also supply of cheap raw materials to agro industries, and multifunctional goals. These are the five types of agriculture sector goals, so which are very very crucial so to the successful of the agriculture policy. Okay, then agriculture subsectors like horticulture and livestock, those two sectors, subsectors also very very important so to achieve the good success so of the agriculture. Okay, next. Then, so the components of the agriculture policy, already we have seen all these things we have discussed. Inputs like land, labor, seeds, fertilizer, plant protection, irrigation, farm machinery, credit. These are all we have discussed already. Please skip the slide. Next. Incentives, yes. So incentives also we have seen. So we can discuss one or two aspects. Incentives are given to the agriculture sector to achieve the specific objectives. Through these incentives, government encourages the farmers to enhance production and productivity of different crops. Agro industries and agri business and processing companies also get incentives government for making investment in various agriculture related activities, because incentives will be given. So whatever the what type of crops which are producing such type of good raw material for the processing, and which can be useful for the agro processing industries, such type of crops or such type of products, so they are getting some type of incentives, they are likely to get such type of incentives. So in that way, so the agriculture business, those which type of crops they can be useful for agri business, agriculture industries, and processing companies. So they are all in a position to get such type of incentives. And can we broadly two major categories, namely price support and input subsidies, those things which we have already discussed so in the previous slides. Next, investment in agriculture also you have seen, please skip. Next, regulations and controls also we have discussed. Yes, next. Yeah, recent policy on regulations and controls. So we can see some of the legislation changes. So after liberalization, privatization, and globalization, so then the conditions related to agriculture are now different from that during pre-green revolution and post-green revolution. We have already discussed. So these are the then the necessary amendments. The policy envisages greater private sector participation through contract farming. Contract farming, which has been emerging recently, because when the fragmentation of land holdings are growing, so at a rapid rate, so the each and every small fragmentation of holdings are not viable or not feasible for the cultivation of any type of crop in a reasonable manner. So to achieve such type of results, so the contract farming is emerging. Okay, so farmer is taking all such type of small marginal farmers lands, and on the basis of contract, so they are doing the agriculture operations so to get the good results. Then dismantling of restrictions on movement of agricultural commodities throughout the country, plant varieties protection through legislation, tenancy reforms to recognize the rights of the tenants and sharecroppers. So this to some extent the government is trying to implement these type of reforms also, because whosoever is cultivating the land, that rights and the income has to go to the those who are cultivating that land. But in practically, so especially in India, this may not be the successful, because here the land rights are in the name of only the landowners, because until and unless the land rights cannot be shifted to the tenants, so this type of things may not be achieve good results. Okay, tenancy reforms we are saying since before independence, so but this is not that much successful in majority of the place. Only that I can say that West Bengal and Kerala, they have achieved good results as compared with other states of the country. Development of lease markets for giving private lands on lease for cultivation and agribusiness. Setting up of agro processing units. This is one of the most important thing which is picking up in the recent past, because how the wastage of agriculture products can be saved and can be protected, so to transform, or to utilize, to optimum utilize of the agriculture products, and to reduce the wastage of the agriculture products, the agro processing units are being emerging in each and every state of the country. In this way, the agriculture development, the policy on regulations and controls, they are trying to contribute towards the agriculture development and enhancement of the successfulness of the agriculture policy. Yes, next slide. Then there are some other aspects also. These are all creation of off-farm employment in rural areas, that I have already told you. Application of new technology in agriculture, such as biotechnology. And for all these amendments in the existing rules, regulations, and acts are required. The State Agriculture Product Marketing Act, APMC Act, and the Essential Commodities Act are the two important legislations that are being amended to remove restrictive provisions coming in the way of an efficient and competitive marketing system. Okay, in this way, the government has started a lot of remedial measures, licensing requirements, stocking limits, movement restrictions of wheat, paddy, rice, squares grains, edible oil seeds, edible oils, and other essential commodities act. So they have been removed. The Food Safety and Standard Act would be enacted to evolve a uniform food law and to encourage food processing sector. Okay. To that, setting up of commodities, future markets, electronic interlinkage of mandis. So, ENAM, this is what I have told you. Development of alternative marketing models such as contract farming, so private markets and direct marketing like ITC, Chowpal, and allowing entry of foreign direct investment in food retailing. So, these are the recent regulations and changes has been brought into the Indian agriculture system and in the agriculture policy framework. So these things are giving good results in the recent past. We can see, if, for example, so in Karnataka or so in some other states, so they are trying to follow these type of things and so achieving good results because whenever the marketing so is being effective, then the farmers will also be very happy in all the type of agriculture products or production point of view. And next slide. Yes, center state roles. As I have already told you, that agriculture has been left to the state, is a state subject, but the center has also to play some type of role. Otherwise, so to this is an unorganized sector. Agriculture is an unorganized sector because there is no systematic rules and regulations which cannot be perfectly been implemented in the agriculture sector because agriculture is depending on the monsoons. Agriculture is depending upon the so different type of climatic and environmental situations. So that is why so the central role must be there to protect that so situations. Okay, its development largely depends on the willingness and capacity of the state governments to make investments in agriculture sector goals and policy options. Infrastructure, research and development, irrigation, power, roads and marketing, insurance and storage facilities. We have seen already. We have discussed earlier. Capacity of a state government to invest depends on its revenue generation ability. That actually is the function of growth in the net state domestic product. NSDP means net state domestic product and the tax rates so which are existing in it. The central government also makes direct investment in the agriculture sector under various central sector schemes. Okay, so the central economic policies can also affect the state government's revenue generation capacity. For example, economic reforms initiated in 1991 and thereafter did not directly target the agriculture, but they did have indirect impact on its so via reduction in the developmental role of the government and its capacity to generate resources for investment. During the post reform period, rates of custom and excise duties have significantly declined owing to the process of tax liberalization. This is one of the most important point which we have to see. So after the LPG process has been started, how they are not only directly it is not being affected, so indirectly it has been affected to the agriculture sector in different ways. Next slide. Yes, process of policy formulation in agriculture. So this is the last component so which we can discuss so about the agriculture policy point of view. The concept of policy formulation. So, this policy making process refers to the series of stages through which the formulation of a policy goes from its conception to the point at which its impact can be evaluated. Okay, broadly, it comprises a set of process or activities and actions initiated by different actors and stakeholders with a view to collectively arrive at some consented decisions for achieving the predetermined goals. As who are the actors and who are the stakeholders, so in this process this is the most important thing, how the policy making and where to start and how to identify the policy issues, how to specify the policy objectives, how to design it and how to select the policy options to achieve the goals, implementation of the policy decisions and monitoring and evaluation of policy outcomes, conceptuality and difference between process of policy making and process of policy formulation. These are all so we have so seen from the beginning to so till now. So in the agriculture policy, in any type of policy, these are all the things so which we have to assess and evaluate so from time to time. The process of policy making comprises all the stages stated above, whereas policy formulation consists of the initial part of policy making, excluding implementation, monitoring, and evaluation parts. In this, so here, so we have seen all these trends. Yes, next slide. Basic ingredients of policy formulation. Information and data collection, evaluation, monitoring, evaluation, evaluation,
The person you are calling is not.
hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir. Continue, sir.
Yes, yes. So the information and database is one of the basic ingredient. So for this, so policy formulation. For agriculture policy formulation process, information is required not only to assess the existing policy, but also to make available necessary feedback to the policy formulators. Feedback is also very, very important. How that so policy instruments or the policy issues are going to be affected, are going to be so useful for the population, so that what type of feedback so which will come accordingly, the policy can go ahead. Okay, in-depth analysis of data and information, because based on that policy, what type of data which has been collected, that has to be analyzed so in an in-depth manner, and that information has to be so circulated among all the people. In-depth studies of areas, sectors, branches of production as a basis for analysis of agriculture policy problems are quite relevant. For example, farmers' income situation. So, and the impact of market conditions or policy changes, changes in land tenure and land use patterns, labor market conditions, These are all the important information to be used, because then only so the other places and in other so point of view, in other dimensions point of view, how this agriculture policy is going to be useful and it is being affected, and how it is going to be so positively influenced the so standards, standard of livelihood of the population, that all can be seen. Okay, next slide. Yeah, rural farm and non-farm employment and income patterns, technological changes, farm size and productivity relations, institutional changes, land lease markets, supply chain system, international trade agreements, processing activities and marketing channels, food consumption trends, impact of corporate and contract farming on farm income and employment, etc., are some issues that need to be thoroughly examined, analyzed, and studied for policy designing and formulation point of view. So these are the issues which we have discussed earlier. So and we have to be so thoroughly examined. So how this type of each and every instrument, every component, so which is changing as according to the policy dimensions and policy so suggestions point of view, these things are being changed over a period of time, that can be thoroughly observed and discussed and examined thoroughly. And next slide. Yes, the third component, actors and stakeholders. Stakeholders. This is the most important thing. So, which I have already told you. Who are the actors and who are the stakeholders? So, in this, so agriculture policy framework and policy, the stakeholders in order to make the policy more inclusive and participatory. Involvement of main actors and stakeholders in the policy formulation process is necessary. The actors may be politicians, ministers or members of parliament, civil servants, I have told you, the bureaucrats, government appointed experts, specialists and advisors, academicians, NGOs, representative of financial institutions such as National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, NABARD, members from corporate organizations like FICCI, so Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and India, members of farmers organizations, people from media and community based organizations. Participation of Panchayati Raj institutions is equally essential because, under the new decentralized planning framework, these local government institutions have been empowered to make plan for agriculture development at the grassroots level. You should note that an active participation of stakeholders and end users of agriculture policy make the policy more demand driven and responsive in meeting out the intended policy goals. In this way, so the actors and the stakeholders are very crucial in the agriculture policy. Next slide. Stakeholders of the policy may comprise so agriculture ministry and departments, other related ministries and departments such as ministries and departments related to water, forest, energy, finance, trade, farmers and landless workers, private sector players such as input suppliers, agro processors and traders, cooperatives, institutions, civil society institutions, politicians, including representatives of local government institutions. In this way, we can briefly describe that so how the actors and the stakeholders so they may participate so in framing these type of agriculture policy and try to so implement and try to so apply and monitor and so effectively get good results. So in the case of agriculture front, so these are the so actors and stakeholders so role is very important in the agriculture policy. Next slide. So though actors and stakeholders both are so very important, there is a small difference which we can say. that actors are those persons, organizations, and institutions which have direct participation in the process of policy formulation and have their say in the decision making process. Whereas policy stakeholders are those who are directly or indirectly affected by the policy outcomes. So, in this way, the these actors and the stakeholders will have a little bit of conceptual difference. So it make you understand how the policy outcomes affect the different stakeholders. The recent policy of the government to allow the entry of agribusiness companies in contract farming would benefit the corporate sector and also to some extent the farmers, but it may adversely affect the small traders dealing in the grain market and also the workers engaged in the regulated mandis. Okay, in this way, so the entry of agribusiness companies directly through contract farming in any village or in any group of villages, so product entire product the companies will purchase, then the corporate sector will definitely get benefit out of it. But to some extent farmers, because farmers have also some assured price and good price can be available to them. But in between, so the small farmers, retail business people and small traders are the in the grain market or in the workers engaged in the regulated mandis, so they may be affected because for them, if the farmers are going towards the company, then the farmers are not going to the market, etc. So then, those who are working in the market, they may be in a position to affect, and those who are long been working for the last several years, the small traders, they also have affected. Okay, so anyway, these two have positive advantages as well as the disadvantages to some extent, but ultimately we have to see that in what way the farmers will get benefit out of it, that will be the good outcome of it. So the agriculture policy will play such a good positive role in such type of dimensions. Yes, next slide. Yes, capacity building is also one of the most important instrument for the agriculture policy. Okay, if you want to achieve good results, to what extent the capacity building will support the capacity of the actors and stakeholders to participate in the policy process does have a significant impact on the process and the outcome. Capacity building measures are required to enhance and strengthen the capability of actors and stakeholders so that they may contribute productively to the process of policy formulation. Actually, there are two main reasons for the policy: failure, Java's formulation of wrong policy, and poor implementation of even right policy. Okay, so capacity building of policy makers through imparting training and creating awareness and equipping them with necessary information would help in the formulation of right policy. While capacity enhancement of the policy implementing agencies would make possible the effective implementation of the policy. So in this way, the capacity building is also one of the most important aspect from both groups of the people's point of view, actors and the stakeholders' point of view. The capacity building will also play an important role. Next slide. Creation of policy network. So ultimately, we have to see that how the policy network can be created. The policy network refers to the groups of people who share ideas and are influential in setting policy agenda. Such a network would serve as a useful mechanism for building consensus in the identification of policy issues. It also makes easy to disseminate reports of working groups, findings of seminars and workshops, and helps in getting the quick responses of people and organizations in the network. It could be an efficient medium of initiating dialogue among civil society, NGOs, academic institutions, government agencies, and ministries. Comments and suggestions on the draft policy document can easily be received if it is circulated among the stakeholders through the network. So nowadays, the network has been widely been implementing, widely been connected through majority of the stakeholders and majority of the actors. That is why, so an advent of the internet and electronic mail has made creation of such network possible, easy and cost effective. In this way, so the agriculture policy creation, and so these things can be directly so reach to each and every so stakeholder, and as well as the actors in a so speedy manner through electronic media, so through email and the networking facilities point of view. In this way, so the agriculture policy is been formulating, is been implementing, is been so creating awareness among all the groups of people. So in that way, so agriculture policy is going to achieve good results so in coming future also. So next slide. So yes, synergy between politics and economics of policy making, resource competitiveness, risks and trade offs, interface with the departments, state institutions, and other stakeholders. These are also other aspects so which we have to come across. So while discussing about this, so agriculture policy. Next slide. Then finally, we can see what are the characteristics of good policy formulation process. Okay, there are some points which briefly I have so indicated. So it depends upon different place to place, because different stakeholders point of view, different actors point of view, these policy formulation so characteristics may also change. So it is not compulsory that all the characteristics which I have been telling, so they may be implemented in each and every place. Okay, that is what you have to understand. A good policy formulation process should have the following features. There is a common criticism of national policy making process as being top down, not taking into account the opinions of individuals, agencies, and social groups. A good policy making process is that which is more participatory and inclusive in nature, and also involves all actors and stakeholders, including grassroots level organizations. Agriculture policy impacts the farmers, agriculture workers, traders, agribusiness companies, and consumers. A good policy making process should invite feedback on the policy issues from the representatives of all these groups. A good policy making process should ensure that vigorous debate prior to policy making and adaptation should be initiated. The actors and stakeholders should have access to latest data and information relevant for policy debate and discussion. Next slide. Public opinion on the policy issues should be gathered through conducting seminars, workshops, and brainstorming sessions at national, regional, and local level. Since policy made for agriculture sector may have direct or indirect impacts, process should articulate, analyze, and consider conflicting and diverse opinions within and between sectors, and attempt to achieve opinions convergence for building consensus on the policy issues. Policy making should be a continuous, iterative, and interactive process. The interaction should also take place between the policymaker, the policy delivery personnel, and the persons affected by the policy, or in modern terminology of the stakeholders. A good policy making process should produce policy that can be implemented effectively and successfully. So, no, these are the main good characteristics which we can say. Okay. Yes. Next slide. Yeah, major steps in policy formulation. These are all we have already. Setting of policy agenda, articulation of vision statement. Next, setting up of policy goals. So these are all which we have already discussed, and so you can also go through about this. Next. Yeah, these are also part of it, because to strengthen the biosecurity of crops, farm animals, fish, and forestries for safeguarding both the work and income security of farmer families and the health and trade security of the nation, to restructure agriculture curriculum and pedagogic methodologies for enabling every farm and home science graduate to become an entrepreneur, and to make agricultural education gender sensitive, to make India a global outsourcing hub in the production and supply of the inputs needed for sustainable agriculture and products and processes developed through biotechnology and information and communication technology. This is what so finally we can relate to the available technology, how they can also be used in the agriculture sector, so to achieve good results. So then finally, so next slide. Setting up policy objectives, as we have discussed, preparation of time schedule, preparation of draft policy document. These are the steps so which you mm, keep it in your mind when the agriculture policy is being framed. Okay, these are all the steps. So it depends upon so your scope, and so to what extent so these things so which are existing in your environment, and so you have to see that so how these things so can be practically been so brought into the agriculture policy framework. So after putting all these things, so then you can see that how the agriculture policy is going to be useful so to you and to your country as a whole. So in that way we have to see to some extent, and in this process we can see that so the Nigeria has so some type of agriculture promotion policy during 2016 to 20. They have formulated one type of policy. So in that also, majority of the key challenges they have brought into address is the instability of agriculture policy framework driven by high rate of turnover of programs and personnel, poor implementation of political commitments to international protocols, conventions agreed to with other members of the Committee of Nations, poor agricultural technology, infrastructure deficit, poor access to financial services that enable farmers to adapt new technologies, institutional reform and realignment. Many federal and state agricultural institutions are not actively pursuing their mandates. The system ignores local government areas where majority of agricultural activities take place. So in that way, so the linkage between so agriculture transformation agenda and agriculture so promotion policy, these two having some type of linkage between these two, implementation of agriculture transformation so agenda, so on the principle that agriculture is a business. In order to deepen the gains of the ATA, the APP was also formulated with the same principle. The main priority of both policy documents is to restart the clock and reintroduce the Nigerian economy to sustainable agriculture centered on business like attitude driven by the private sector. Okay, so the shortcomings are there: input supply, financing, okay, and infrastructure and logistics, production, market access, like that. So there are the several types of so shortcomings are there. So to overarching these objectives, food security, import substitution, job creation, economic diversification has to be seen. The specific objectives which they have framed is that grow the integrated agriculture sector, integrate agriculture commodity value chains into the broader supply chain of Nigerian and global industry, promote the responsible use of land, water, and other natural resources to create a vibrant agriculture sector, create a mechanism for improved governance of agriculture by the supervising institutions, improving quality of engagement between the federal and state governments, promotion of agriculture investment, financing agriculture development programs, research for agriculture innovation and productivity. These are the specific objectives which the agriculture promotion policy has been framed by the Nigerian government, and so they are likely to continue so to achieve the good results in the agriculture policy framework. So in that way, so majority of the things, so which because in India is having so large number of so resources and the population and the different type of actors and different type of stakeholders, they are participating. So here in the Nigerian country there are some shortcomings, so as compared to that policy, so that has to be so suggested by so to achieve good results in the Nigerian agriculture economy. Okay, so in that way, so we can see that other developing countries also can achieve good results. So which we can see what are the components, what are the instruments, what are the policy sessions which we have seen in the agriculture policy framework. Okay, so this is what I would like to share with you people, friends. So if you have any clarifications or any type of so questions or any suggestions, so which you would like to say, please. Yes, yes, Sama. Ask me. Yeah. Hello.
Okay, doctor.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you for
yeah,
the presentation. I've
yeah,
been struggling with the internet service here.
yeah,
I asked. There's a question on the chat box that I typed there.
yeah.
It's about subsidy, input subsidy.
Oh,
I'm looking from my own perspective, and from
input
the way,
subsidy, food subsidy.
yeah,
Yes.
input
Yeah,
subsidy
yeah,
particularly.
yeah.
So I
In,
was asking about the strategy for its sustainability after
mm, yeah,
the
yeah,
the first supply or second supply.
yeah.
Are there strategies to make it sustainable for farmers? Because I
Yes,
know once they start it, how does
exactly.
it go?
Yeah, like basically, you see, so the input subsidy is very, very important. So for the marginal and small farmers, especially because they are not in a position to purchase the fertilizers and the pesticides at the production cost level, as you know that, because this is the basic problem. Production cost is very high, the fertilizers and the pesticides and other inputs to some extent, but especially the government so has seen and calculating the cost of that fertilizer production, and before it goes into the market, the government is taking such type of corrective measures while giving some type of subsidy. So you have to so sell this at this rate, because the remaining amount can be collected from the government. So in that way, those type of input subsidy is being extending in the beginning, so of the so inputs which they are entering into the market. Okay, so that is one of the good thing which is very much useful for the so farmers community, those who are doing such type of small and marginal farmers cultivation. Okay, so especially in India, as I have already told you, more than 70 to 80% of the farmers are marginal and small farmers. That is why, so if they want to calculate cultivate their farming regularly in a sustainable manner, then they have to receive such type of inputs. Due to that reason, so this input subsidy has been introduced, and it has been perfectly been implementing in majority of the states, and time to time, so the subsidy is being so borne by the government, is that share is also to some extent the recent government has started try to reduce the subsidy levels, but so the stakeholders, the other actors, so are not that much interested to reduce that much huge so component. So that is what it is happening in India.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much, doctor.
Yes, yes,
Thank you
yes.
very much, doctor.
Thank you. Welcome. Yes. Any other question?
What would you say about private investors?
Yeah,
or private
private.
investment by
Yes.
agricultural firms.
Yes. Private investment, especially this is going to be useful. That is what I have told you. Na? You see, the private people, they can so formulate a group and they are opening some type of company and they are trying to purchase some type of product as an incentive. So they are trying to invest. So in the form of roads or in the form of so other infrastructure facilities. In that way, the private companies, the private group of people, they may likely to extend that type of so facilities, investment facilities to the farmers, those who are really suffering. So because so the farmer has to brought their product to the market. Okay, market or their company. Okay, so in that extent, or the in case of irrigation facilities, there are no canals or there is no so electricity facility to plow the or to pump the so water from so one place to another place. So in those circumstances, the private people, they can so utilize their investment so to make use of such type of so fields in a cultivated manner. Okay, so in that way, once our creation of so storage facilities or so creation of infrastructure facilities like so power and electricity and also some type of roads, so are some type of incentives from so in that way the private people are coming forward and so trying to so give loans so to the croppers or farmers, those who are producing the level of product which they are trying to supply to their so companies, etc. In that way, the private investment is also growing over a period of time, especially in the agriculture sector. The public sector investment is go by day it is declining, and the private sector investment is so growing up. Okay, so in that way, the farmers
Thank you very
producers
much, Doctor.
organizations are also formulating and they are also playing such a crucial role. So earlier it used to be unorganized sector. Slowly it is becoming organizing. So step by step, their products, how they have to get good quality of seeds or how to reach the product to the market level and how to achieve good prices for their products. These are all been streamlining one by one. Okay, in that way, so the private people are also combining and formulating one type of group of people, the farmers, producers, organizations like that. So they are grooming themselves and to form so to one type of effective group and try to bargain so with the present day-to-day situations. In that way, so the private people are helping so to the unorganized group of farmers or the illiterate group of farmers. Yes.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So anything else?
Okay, thank you, sir. Today's counseling is closed.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.